Good morning, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our morning heart devotion. Let's begin by greeting our heavenly parent and true parents. 천지인 참 부모님께 경배. 바로. Now please receive Reverend Milhan Stevens for our family pledge.
가정맹세 1. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 본연의 창조 이상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과 황족권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 천상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 천여국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 천여국 시대를 맞이하여 절대 신앙, 절대 사랑, 절대 복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상 천국과 천상 천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Reverend Milhan. And for our opening prayer, if I could invite Reverend Sebastian Huemer, if you could unmute and pray for us.
천지인 참부님께 안녕하십니까? 여러분, Dr. Yong 안녕하십니까? 여러분 안녕하십니까? 감사합니다. Oh, Heavenly Parent, we come before you, brothers and sisters from all around the world, joining Dr. Yong on this morning devotion as he's leading us and offering a sincere devotion, Jongsong, during this time in which we have learned about the Hyojong that True Mother has established firmly everywhere as the central axis of our lives within our family, around which our relationships turn between husband and wife, and brothers and sisters, parents and children, children and parents. When a parent, we're grateful to be here. We're here because of you, because of our true parents. We're here because of all those brothers and sisters who have come before us, and laid a foundation in our movement, the Unification Church, and the foundation of all those of our ancestors who have suffered and paid the price so that we could meet the true parents. We'd be allowed to come here together and share in this morning hour as we begin this day, going down to the river the river of words, as it says in the 3-hour lecture manual of divine principle. The one meaning the river of words, where we can wash our sins, we can repent, we can come to be equalized, realize we're all the same in front of you. And we can go out and sell the word, dok, meaning we can sell the word, we can share it with others, become lighthouse, and share that light so that the original love that you have given us, and that with which you have endowed us, and with which you have been longing for to change this world, to bring about your kingdom of heaven here on this earth. When parent, we're celebrating this time the birth of the Prince of Peace, your Son Jesus Christ, who was not understood, who could not even establish a family, who was crucified cruelly. When the parent had to search for 2,000 years, we established the foundation upon which two parents could be sent, which two parents could start this providence and walk that miserable path one more time. When the parent, you have been working to us, reach our hearts, each one of our hearts. You have hope in the faith that we can rekindle our hearts to be the warm light, Father, which can light the surrounding that we're going in. Everywhere we go, Heavenly Parent, we want to be that light that Jesus brought, the light of the world. Heavenly Parent, we thank you for that, as we are in the presence of the King of Peace and the Queen of Peace. We are allowed to have this kind of hope that we can rekindle our own hearts, to burn brightly and warmly, Heavenly Parent, so they can be lighthouses even. We pray for Dr. Yong on his journey, as he's going to be in Australia. I pray that we can look at that lighthouse and let it shine over here, as he represents the work of our true mother all around the world. For us, here in this continent, and for now Kimio Schroeder, for this nation, and for Milhan Stevens here in the state of New York, for me, and Joshua Holmes, Heavenly Parent, and Westwood Arthur. I pray for each one of our brothers and sisters representing all these amazing organizations our true parents founded. I pray that you please allow us to do our part, to do our work in the Family Federation, in the Universal Peace Federation, and the Women's Federation, and the American Clergy and World Clergy, and the Youth Clergy Leadership Conference, and the YSP Youth and Students for Peace, and all the young generation organizations that True Parents and True Mother has founded. And we want to thank you so much for this moment. And I want to thank Tal for asking me to pray this morning. And I offer this to you, Heavenly Parent, in the name of Sebastian, Meredith, and Katie Weimer. Bless Center family. Adieu.
Adieu. Adieu. Thank you, Reverend Sebastian, for that beautiful prayer this morning, bringing us closer to God as we prepare ourselves to receive your word. So I hope you feel grateful this morning, bright and shining. Welcome again to our morning heart devotion. So we're going to jump right into our breakouts, and we'll be right back in 7 minutes. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much. I hope you had a warm experience sharing your appreciations with one another. Wow, I felt like I got some guidance this morning. It was awesome. I first of all would like to invite up Takashi Kubota. Takashi-san, if you could unmute and share.
Thank you, Joshua. It was very, very warm talk that we had. Basically, appreciating so much about our spouse and everything else. I am particularly grateful for the guidance of visible God being my spouse. So I determined to really surrender to the words she speaks to me and obey and serve. And in the past, I may be nodding to what she says. She has so many things to say in so many details about what I do. So I was nodding, but inside I may be opposite. But this time I really determined, and I do see it is really working in our relationships. So Dr. Yong told us to report to Abel in small details for the sake of developing artistic relationship. So I start doing that with my spouse, and it is really helping as well. So I'm truly grateful for these guidances that I receive every morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Takashi-san. Beautiful. That's a living testimony. Practicing what we're receiving and serving our able, our substantial God in our houses. Thank you, Takashi-san. And next, I'd like to invite up Mr. Stoyan Tadin, if you could also share.
As soon as I can be unmuted, I'm happy to do it. It finally worked. Good morning. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being with you, Joshua, and I'm grateful that we had a chance to share some thoughts. I was sharing with you the particular point that struck me last Sunday as we spoke, where the idea was to always be respectful and use respectful language, and to look up to people, to be loving towards people at all times. And I asked the question the opposite. Rather than saying, well, it's good to be respectful, use respectful language, when is it appropriate not to be respectful? I realize actually there's no occasion that requires not to be respectful. We always need to be respectful. And I discovered that in my life of faith, that the flow of love is always when you look up. If you can look up to people, love will flow. If you begin to look down on someone, love will stop flowing. The nature of God is such that we always lift up our beloved above myself. People in love lift up their beloved above themselves naturally, because love does that naturally. So when you are driven by love, when I'm driven by love, when anyone on this call and beyond is driven by love, naturally we want to lift up the people around us. And it's for lack of people like that the world has become so devoid of love. And so it's my hope that each of us on the call here can learn to practice that more and more, and that on a daily basis, we can continue to look up, even when we feel the situation doesn't merit it. And I was very inspired by your comments of assuming a leadership role here, Joshua, where you are actually genuinely inspired to serve, to love these people. And I felt that in many ways, your heart resembles the heart of God, because the unique feature about God, the most unique feature, the most fundamental feature that I think we all need to focus on is that God has an uncontrollable impulse to love, an uncontrollable impulse to take care of others. That's the nature of love. And so when you and I can have this uncontrollable impulse to take care of others, to look up to others, to lift up others, then the world can change. And in that process, We need to raise up people who can do likewise so love can multiply. So I wish for you, Joshua, this ability to raise up many more people who can be so on fire to lift up and look up to the nation and the world and make the world a better place. Thank you so much for your wonderful sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tadden. Thank you so much for your appreciation and also your guidance. Felt it's such a deep point in understanding this flow of love and how there's no time ever for us to be disrespectful or to not seek to lift others up. Powerful. And thank you for your encouragement for all that we're doing, especially this next generation of leadership. Thank you so much. All right. Are we prepared? I think so. God is good all the time. So I hope our hearts, our minds are opened. We have our notepads if you take notes. And let us receive now for our morning heart internal guidance this morning, Dr. Chung Shik Yong.
안녕하세요. Good morning. Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters, clergy and ambassadors for peace. 안녕하십니까? Today, I'd like to talk about women as the turning point for peace from Mother's Anthology Book 2. Let's study Mother's Word.
Women as the turning point for peace. Beloved women leaders, I ask for your support in carrying the weighty responsibility of completing the providential mission of the Able Women's UN, the final organization that Reverend Moon and I created together. As you are aware, the UN was founded in accordance with God's will to address the plight of many people around the world who had endured unbearable suffering in the aftermath of the catastrophic Second World War, with a deep yearning for peace based on the viewpoint that war must never be waged again. However, what is the reality today? In the 60 years of the United Nations existence, it has been unable to prevent wars breaking out, including the Korean War. Even though the Cold War has ended, the world is not free from outbreaks of war, whether big or small, that stem from conflicts between rich and poor, between races, and between people of different faiths. Hasn't the UN seen repeated breakdown of its work to fulfill its original mission to maintain global peace according to the purpose of its founding? At the time of its inauguration, the UN was the result of a compromise effected between the US and the then Soviet Union under the confrontational structure of the Cold War. From the outset, therefore, it was limited in its ability to bring about lasting world peace, transcending the interest of individual nations. This is why we have proclaimed that from the standpoint of God's will, the UN has been unable to emerge from the position of Cain. This is why we emphasize that the renewal of the UN is absolutely critical to building a world of lasting peace as originally envisioned at the time of their creation. The United Nations has struck a brick wall, being unable to move beyond the level of balancing the various interests of individual nations. In history, up to now, we have depended on government organizations centered on men to bring about global peace. Now, however, to surmount the limitations they have demonstrated, I believe that a women's peace movement centered on a non-governmental organization, NGOs, should take root as the new system, resolving problems that arise in the field.
Yes. Before True Father went to the spiritual world, he proposed and created Able Women's UN. The final organization that he and the True Mother created together. Until now, the UN has seen repeated breakdown of each work to fulfill its original mission to maintain lasting global peace according to the purpose of each founding. At the time of inauguration, under the confrontational structure of the Cold War, the UN was limited in its ability to bring about lasting world peace, transcending the interests of individual nations. This is why true parents are emphasizing that the renewal of the UN is absolutely critical to building a world of lasting peace as originally envisioned at the time of the creation. To overcome the current UN's limitation in the establishment of the world peace, true parents have created WFWP as the Able Women's UN, and UPF as the Able UN representing men. From this perspective, UPF and WFWP has a mission to go out and lead the world peace movement from a position similar to that of a couple that solves all the problems of the world. I think really you need to understand that how much Father emphasizing the importance of the UPF and Women Federation for World Peace. That's why I think UPF and the Women Federation for Peace need to go together side by side, not under the organization, Women Federation, not under the some organization. That's why I need to go side by side. According to true parents, the concept is very clear. Woman is not under the man. Man is not under the man. Cannot be done like that. The same equal position as the role of the mother, as the role of the father, as the role of a man, and role of the woman. Very important. We need to change this kind of the really concept, especially our member. The importance of WFWP and UPF, very important. From this perspective, really, UPF and WFWP really has a really important mission. How can we lead the world? How can we establish world peace? Based on these two organizations, and the UPFWP, and then True Mother, raising up one more organization, that is a position of children, YSP. That's why centering on Family Federation for World Peace and UPF, WFWP, YSP, this is centering on 4-position foundation organization. Based on these four organizations, all affiliated organizations can relate to these 4 main organizations. We need to know this point very clearly. This is really very important structure to create world peace. World is what? Extend our family to the world. Same thing. So structure have to be same. Living divine principle and the spiritual fall. And let's study EDP.
The spiritual fall and the physical fall. God created human beings with 2 components, the spirit self and the physical self. The human fall likewise took place in 2 dimensions, the spiritual and the physical. The fall which took place through the sexual relationship between the angel and Eve was a spiritual fall, while the fall which occurred through the sexual relationship between Eve and Adam was the physical fall. How can an act of passionate love be consummated between an angel and a human being? All the emotions and sensations felt between a person and a spirit are exactly the same as those felt during contact between 2 earthly people. Undoubtedly, a sexual union between an angel and a person is possible. We can understand this more clearly from the fact that there are reported cases of earthly people leading a married life with spirits.
So based on that, let's study Father's word more.
The resentment of the archangel. How lonely religious people have been as the body of the rebirth of the archangel. They felt they were receiving less love when they were loved by God. That's the resentment of the archangel. Once the archangel is able to stand in the position of a perfected archangel, he must receive the perfect love of God and the love of perfected Adam. However, the archangel has never received such love until now. That's why the archangel accuses God, saying, although I became Satan and I am not qualified to receive your love, I can only accept being kicked out after receiving at least once the perfected love that you promised me. This is so true. That's why Satan has been clinging onto this hope for 6,000 years, saying, you've kicked me out without setting a condition that you loved me, God. How could you do that to me?
Wow. And then continue.
This is why Jesus blessed Satan, the enemy, in order to set such a condition. He just gave the blessing to Satan as if he had the same heart as God. Thus, since Jesus finally set a condition that he had loved the archangel, Satan was banished and a new world has expanded since then. I cannot explain these deep stories to you.
Yeah. I think Father really talked about a very important thing. The archangel's Peter's heart is that the love he received from God was love received at the top of the cross stage. Yesterday, I already explained to you. Because the archangel did not receive from God at the completion stage, he has really harm. Since the archangel had never received the perfect love of God, he's still accusing God to this day. And also archangel never receiving the perfect love of a human being who should have dominated him and is his harm. With the archangel being in the position of the servant, his wish to receive the perfect love of the true master remained as harm. To kick out Satan, we have to set the condition of loving even our enemy and bringing them to natural submission. Because of that, even in the place of the dying on the cross, Jesus set the condition of having loved even the enemy that pierced him with a spear. That's why Jesus is really great. Adam could not do that, right? So Adam need to become perfect being and then need to love, archangel. But, Adam completely dominated by archangel. And then archangel do not receive love, right? Do not receive love from the perfect human being. Since Jesus came, finally, he need to go to the way of the cross. When he crucified, and then his enemy accused him, then what Jesus did? Pray for him, forgive him. And then archangel, the Satan, first time received and recognized by God's begotten Son. And then Satan totally surrendered to Jesus. Jesus showed that kind of example because Jesus was a perfect being, individual perfection. And since true Father came to the earth, same kind of temptation and then, struggling. And Satan always accused the Father, but Father still forgive enemy, pray for enemy. And then even in the Hungnam prison, Satan, which is archangel, completely surrendered. Why? Father, forgive him, love him. It is how much amazing. That's why now, actually, there is no condition Satan accused Jesus and true parents anymore, because Jesus and true parents loved archangel, centurion, complete love. From some perspective, setting a condition of completely loving the archangel is the condition of the fulfilling the human portion of responsibility. Even though the archangel tempted Adam and Eve, he also wished that they would reject his temptation, dominate him, and love the archangel himself. That's why when we become perfect being like Jesus, like a true father, when we can do that, even though my enemy persecute me and try to kill me, like Jesus, like a true father, forgive him unconditionally. And then Satan naturally surrender. Wow, I tried to kill you many times. I tried to tempt you many times. I blame you, persecute you so much. How come you love this kind of the unworthy person? How come you love, such kind of the enemy? I can testify that you are true owner. You are true son of God. Then our portion of responsibility can surpass top of the growth stage. Satan can recognize you fulfill your portion of responsibility. You have qualification to become the owner of the all things. Even you can control me. You can dominate me. I completely surrender. You are my owner. I really recognize you. Something like that. Then that is a completion of our portion of responsibility. 자, today's youth ministry, I am living within the absolute law. Let's study.
What is sin? What is sin? Having discord with one another is sin. Discord is asserting yourself as you please and having conflicts with one another. If there is something to assert about yourself, you must assert it according to God. Can you assert yourself regardless of God? Can I inhale and exhale as I please? If I could control my breathing as I please, can I just exhale? On the other hand, can I just inhale? Can I inhale for more than 30 seconds? I will realize that even though I think that eating, sleeping, waking, coming and going are done as I please, there is actually nothing I can do as I please. It is the same with time. We need to keep the time and right moment. Who controls the 4 seasons? Can you extend spring? Spring, this is my situation. So can you come later? I have my situation, so I will sow the seeds in May. Can you say this? Autumn, don't come. The fruits in our field have not ripened yet. Can you say this? When autumn comes, it comes mercilessly, regardless of my own situations. Therefore, we need to harvest adjusting to the harvest season. Therefore, the law of nature is absolute.
Wow, really very powerful guidance. What is a sin? Sin is thinking, judging, and then acting self-centeredly because we do everything as we please and set out our own, assertions first. We make ourselves have discord with each other. Doing things as one please is sin. Human beings are not beings created by ourselves, right? My own being is a resultant being. In order for us to use a car, our automobile car well, we need to know how to use a car, right? To drive a car well, we need to drive knowing the principles of the person who made the car. Similarly, since I am being created by God, if we know God's principle of creation well, and with what kind of principles God created me with, and obey them as they are, we can achieve our purpose of life. My brothers and sisters, the one who created human being is who? Whom? The one who created human being is God. So we must live according to the creation manual that created human being who are God. God's creation manual becomes the purpose of my life. Yes or no? Very important. You cannot live according to your own will. We are resultant beings. God is the one who created me. That's why I need to absolutely follow according to God's creation manual, God's blueprint. If you go own way against God's principle, you do not follow God's creation manual, become accident, and you will occur so much problems. Can I inhale and exhale as I please, as I want? If I could control my breathing as I please, can I just exhale? On the other hand, can I just inhale only? Impossible. God created not like that. Even what's that? Even inhaling, and then what's that? Even exhaling is what? Need to follow according to universal principle. In the end, there is actually nothing I can do as I please. It is the same with the time and the right moment. We need to absolutely keep the time and right environment, the right moment. Can you extend the spring? Hey, spring, I am not ready. I am not ready. This is my situation. So can you come later? Can you consider my situation? You can say like that. I have my situation, so I will sow the seed in May and June. Can you say like that? Can you say such things? You cannot do anything. That's why absolutely follow universal law and natural law. Absolute. No negotiation. When autumn comes, it comes regardless of my own situation. You know, each time spring, summer, autumn does not care my own situation. Therefore, we need to harvest and adjusting to harvest season. Therefore, the law of nature is absolute. Absolute. In other words, we need to know that God's law of the universe is absolute. Next.
I am living within the absolute law. I am living within the absolute law. Can I have my own situation within the absolute law? I cannot have my own situations. Just as there is the law of nature for nature, everything, without exception, has laws and principles. Therefore, our lives must also absolutely follow those laws. Sundays are holy days when we meet God. But can you leave worship service as you please or according to your situations? If some person leaves worship, that person becomes someone unrelated to God. Sunday is a day that God has chosen. Sunday is a holy day. By keeping Sundays holy, the Bible says, make your home holy. Fallen man cannot become holy without holy conditions. We have received the blessing, but with this blessing from God, the couple cannot respect each other without conditions. If people do not set conditions, they easily flow horizontally and get into conflicts.
Yes, I am living within the absolute law, right? Can I have my own situation within the absolute law? God's absolute law does not consider my personal situation and position. I need to adjust to the right time. Sowing seeds of grain, growing them, and harvesting them according to the right time is my portion of responsibility. The right time will never wait considering my own situation. Just as there is a law of nature for nature, there are laws and principles for everything without exception, has laws and principles. Therefore, our lives must also absolutely follow those laws. Sunday are holidays. When I recently studied about the, Old Testament, wow, really, keeping Sunday service absolute. You do not keep even Sunday service, really, you will get punishment. You please read Old Testament. Sundays are holy day, God's day, when we meet God. But can you live worship service as you please or according to your situation? If some person leaves worship, that person becomes someone unrelated to God. You do not keep Sunday service. You need to overcome your own situation. Sunday night belong to me. Sunday belong to God. We need to glorify for God. Sunday is very, very important. Even you cannot keep Sunday service. What are you talking about? Your life of faith. Sunday is a day that God has chosen, not by me. Sunday is a holy day. Sunday is not a day when I can do as I please. By keeping Sunday holy, the Bible says, make your home holy. You need to have a certain standard. Really, you respect holiday. And then prepare your heart and go to church and worship God and communicate with God. And then meeting your own brothers and sisters. Really create happiness and joy and make Sunday as a holiday. Then, finally, when you come back home, you need to make your home, as a holy home. Need to have the standard. Keeping Sabbaths, Sunday as a holy day. And that kind of person come back home. Also, you need to make your home holy. Fallen man cannot become holy without holy condition. That's why when we attending Sunday service condition, how can throughout the last 6 days become holy day? Sunday is one of the standard. I worship God and respect God and 경배 God. And this is one of the a particular holy condition. And the Heavenly Father, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I want to treat same as a holiday each day. That's a condition, holiday condition. So you really ignore Sunday. How can you value each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? You cannot do that because you don't have the vertical standard. We have received the holy blessing, but with this blessing from God, the couple cannot respect each other without conditions. If people do not set conditions, they easily flow horizontally and get into conflicts and fight. That's why we need to have a standard, vertical standard. This is the first commandment. Need to love God. You need to put God first, the first commandment. And then when you set up this condition, vertical alignment with God, and then easy to practice the second commandment, I treat my neighbor as my body, as my own self, because already set up the condition. If you ignore this first commandment, first alignment, you cannot practice the second commandment. What's the purpose to set up first commandment? Actually, the main reason to practice horizontally, to love my neighbor as my own self. Wow, Bible, that's why Bible content is really great. Next.
Love comes from absolute obedience. How can a couple that have lived as they please obey each other? Secular couples think that their spouses are spouses they chose themselves and that they decided their own marriage. So they quarrel, use impolite speech, and mistreat each other. Because the secular world meet and live unprincipably, they cannot help but have conflicts and fight. In the end, God is not with such couples. In our life of faith today, there's not one thing we can do centered on ourselves and as we please. In absolute obedience, can I act as I please? Love comes from absolute obedience. That means that if I am centered on myself, I cannot receive love from my partner. Children receive love from their parents when they absolutely obey their parents. If they do things in their own ways, how can they receive love from their parents? Then, who do you all have to absolutely obey? You must absolutely obey the laws of the nature and principle of the universe. Just as we need to be absolutely responsible in accordance with the approaching moment in our couple's relationship, we must be absolutely obedient to each other.
Yeah. Since secular people live ignoring the absolute principle and laws of the universe, there will always be conflict and envy and jealousy and hatred and fight. If problems arise, they do not know what to do because the secular world meet and live unprincipledly. They cannot help but have conflicts and fight. In our life of faith today, there is not one thing we can do centered on ourselves as we please. In absolute obedience, can I act as I please? Love comes from absolute obedience. When we are absolutely obedient to the absolute laws of God's true love, we can feel joy and love. The word absolute obedience implies that there is not even 1% of self-assertion. Absolute obedience means that if I am centered on myself, I cannot receive love from my partner. Children receive love from their parents when they absolutely obey their parents. If they do things in their own ways, how can they receive love from their parents? Then, what do you all have to absolutely obey? You must absolutely obey the laws of the nature and principle of the universe, just as we need to be absolutely responsible in accordance with the approaching moment in our couple's relationship. We must be absolutely obedient to each other. Okay, final slide.
It is absolute that we must become filial sons and daughters. It is absolute that we must become God's children. That is why children need to be absolutely obedient to the heavenly law from a young age. We call being absolutely obedient to parents, filial piety. It is absolute that we must become filial sons and daughters. That is why we need to train to obey God's command and our parents' commands from a young age. Being filial to parents is absolute. What is filial piety? It is not doing things as I please, bringing joy to parents and receive love from parents and grow and become people who are better than their parents. Parents need to praise and encourage their children a lot so that they can become a filial child. Children who are praised by their parents study well too. If parents apply pressure to or make things compulsory, the children will become more stubborn. If children are praised at home too, they become model students even in school. Among those who are praised by their parents, there are not many people who are bad at studying. Children who cause their parents to worry are not even good at studying. The reason is simple. People who assert themselves will not have capabilities in the end.
Yes, thank you, Heavenly Honey. It is absolute that we must become God's children and realize true family. This is absolute, right? Anyone need to accomplish first blessing, second blessing, third blessing, and finally realize true family. This is absolute. That's why children need to be trained to be absolutely obedient to the heavenly law from a young age. They cannot do so loosely with the so-called freedom. We call and being absolutely obedient to parents show if parents live a life of obedience, of being absolutely filial to heavenly parents, their children will also think that being filial to their parents is absolute. That's why we need to train to obey God's commands and our parents' commands from a young age. Being filial to parents is absolute. To become ideal family is what? Absolute. There is no room for choosing to be filial or not. Parents need to praise and encourage their children a lot so that they can become a filial child. And parents need to show their children how much they are filial to heavenly parents, true parents, and their own parents. Today, also we learn very important thing, right? Today, I talk about I am living within the absolute law. You know, many of them they don't like the concept of absolute. But God is absolute God. Natural law, absolute. Universal law, absolute. Absolute does exist. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, surely come. We need to according to God's absolute law. Sun and moon and star, all universe exist according to the absolute law. That's why human beings need to live according to absolute God's principle. Not my own way, not own my way. That's not allowed. If we absolutely follow God's law, God's principle, centered on His true love, everything will be fine. This is the best way we can grow, we can become perfect being, we can create ideal family. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yong. Powerful message this morning. You closed youth ministry with sharing about how we are all living within this absolute law. It's challenging. Absolute is a difficult word, but it is setting that standard. And there's our goal in life is to try as much as we can to live within that absolute law. So thank you so much, Dr. Yong, for establishing that very clear standard for us that we can aim for and strive for in our lives. So thank you. Now for our morning, for our living testimony, I'd like to invite up actually Subregion 3 Director, Reverend Kazuo Takami. He'll be introducing the testimony from Margaret Figueroa. So please welcome Reverend Takami.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Joshua. Yeah, I'd like to introduce Margaret Figueroa. She is the longest member of Chicago Family Church. I think she joined the early 70s, and most of the time she is in Chicago. And she and also Pastor Hiro recently led the project of interviewing early pioneers of Chicago. And they made a video and show it at the Chicago's reunion service 2 Sundays ago. And also Margaret and also another brother, previous month in November, they launched a bi-monthly dinner meeting where they invited all the first-gen brothers and sisters. It was very successful to create a space for people to come and share. So this morning, Margaret is going to share about the heart of reaching out brothers and sisters and also power of the people's testimony. So please welcome Margaret Figueroa.
Good morning, Dr. Yong. Good morning, brothers and sisters. My name is Margaret Figueroa, Hodis Figueroa. Before I begin, I really want to say thank you to Reverend Takami for asking me to share today. And also, I cannot give a testimony without thanking Heavenly Parent and our true parents for all that they have given to each and every one of us. So with that said, my testimonies about two events that occurred in Chicago about over the last month or so. One was already reported on the morning devotion, but I'm going to just add to it a little. So to begin with, for the last actually couple of years, I've been thinking about gathering with older members, because I could see that as they got older, some lost their spouses and some became lonely or distant from the church. And it was really kind of hitting my heart for a while. In the midst of all of that, then COVID hit, and all of the issues of loneliness, and we even heard some really sad stories about some older members. So all those issues multiplied during COVID. So then on Dr. Yong's morning devotion, and he kind of several times mentioned about how True Mother wanted us to return to the spirit of the early church. And in the early church, I joined in January of 1973. It was there were no cell phones, there were no TVs, or very little access to TVs. There were absolutely no computers. So what we did in the evening was we sang songs and we ate together and we gave testimonies. So testimonies take time, and they take patience, and they take encouragement. So you have to kind of build a space where people are relaxed and they want to talk, and they feel that they can tell things that they won't get judged about. So anyhow, I felt that burden about the state of our elders, and also I felt I was like one of the few people who knew a lot of the Chicago history, and I realized it wasn't just my history to tell. There were a lot of people involved in Chicago, and it was somehow it came to me that our history brought in as everybody's history, or excuse me, what I'm trying to say is that our histories together are really God's history, and True Parents' history in this movement. So each history is very important. So I asked Reverend Hero if he had time to meet, and we met together, and I talked to him about both of these issues. And he and Reverend Takami gave me the go-ahead for a dinner. And we also talked about how we could start putting together the history based on, an idea Reverend Hero had about what international headquarters had done. So now I had this banquet to put together, and so I called on my dear friend Dieter Jesper. Many of you may know him because they own the camp in Michigan, and he and Rojane are really wonderful people. And so I asked him if he would go in with me and support this and do it, and he agreed. So we started laying the framework out that we would have no agenda. The agenda was to get together, to have fun, and to eat together. And I had some idea of tossing a balloon around, older people tossing a balloon in the air, just something to keep it light and to have fun. But we got rid of that idea because of the food. So anyhow, I did the cooking, and Dieter and Rojane were the MCs, and they did a great job. At first, only a few people signed up, and little by little, it came to, in the end, about 50 attended. Dieter and Rojane made a really fun and warm atmosphere, and they played games, and especially one that they played was called Two Truths and One Lie. And maybe many of you know this game, but you're at a table, and each person has to tell two truths and one lie, and the other members or the other people at the table have to distinguish which one was the lie. And of course, this helps to really get to know people. So it was a great success. People didn't want to leave, and it was just a very warm environment. And in the following days, I had three things happen. One, I had a dream of True Father. The second, I was out walking my dogs, and there was no one around. It was a school day, and suddenly a big balloon just floated right to me. So my idea of that event had been to toss a balloon, and then this balloon just came out of nowhere. And then thirdly, I went to work and there was an envelope on my desk. The housekeeper from the job I had left me $200, saying that you're such a good person, I just wanted to give you something. And that really touched me because it was like her ancestry wanted to help pay for this event. And so I was very touched by all three things. Anyhow, but while we were preparing for the first event, Reverend Takami let us know that there was another event that was going to occur in December. And that was a reunion service based on the service held at the Clifton Church. So kind of modeled by their success. So somehow during that period of time, we realized that this probably was the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Chicago Church. And we decided to get in contact with Sandra Singleton Lowen, who had been the first pioneer sent by True Father. And she confirmed that, yes, indeed, it was the 50th anniversary. And she also agreed to give us a Zoom testimony and tell about her experiences when she set up the church in Chicago. And yeah. And then we also were able to get in contact with another early member, Dana Karos, and he gave a moving testimony too about joining the church. And he met it in 1972. He joined in 1973, and he was one of the members who helped put money down for our Sheridan Road building. And then finally, we were able to get a Zoom call recorded with Sherry Reuter, who was, she led the Chicago Church during the 1980s alongside Reverend Vincenz and Reverend Jenkins. So all of this together, the first event and these testimonies, it started to develop into a very rich spirit. You could really feel it. It was a spirit of a lot of what Dr. Yong talks about, longing for one another and remembering the days we spent together. And so it really was a reunion before the reunion. We started it early. So that spirit carried on, and it wasn't a surprise then that reunion event that happened like 2 Sundays ago was a great success. During the event, I think there was probably close to 400 people who attended either in person or on Zoom, new members, guests, and some people who hadn't attended a church event for decades. I saw one brother who was, I saw when he joined in 1976, and I hadn't seen him in, close to, 48 years or something. So it was remarkable. And then we showed those testimonies of Sandra, Dana, and Sherry. And really, the audience was, just captured by seeing those, and it was quiet, and you could almost hear a pin drop, and it was a really beautiful situation. Then Reverend Jenkins spoke about his time in Chicago, and then Dr. Ki-Hoon Kim, spoke about his time in Chicago, and both of those were, great testimonies live. They were both there in person. And then Dr. Yong spoke. He gave a sermon, a very powerful sermon about, loving God and loving each other, and that this is the way a church prospers, by really taking care and really loving each other. It was a very powerful sermon he gave. And then finally, Reverend Takami gave a vision of the beginning of our next 50 years. So it was really a beautiful evening. People stayed long after the doors were, after the event was over. So it was really wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this story, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret. Beautiful. Just your humble desire to want to capture this and then allowing it to move people's hearts so much is exciting to see how God wants to capture all these testimonies. I, for one, really appreciate hearing these testimonies of those early times and the foundation that we stand on. That's our history. So thank you so much for doing that and also empowering people along the way. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful living testimony. So let's go now into our breakout, share our takeaways and insights with one another, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Wow. Was that 7 minutes? Holy smokes. Well, thank you so much. Beautiful. I hope everyone had a very enriching breakout session. For our sharing, I'd like to invite if Miss Hermine Okath, if you could unmute and share.
Oh my gosh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Yong. Yeah, thank you, Joshua, for giving me this opportunity. Yeah, my takeaway this morning was about this point that Dr. Yong mentioned in the youth ministry. It is absolute that we must become filial sons and daughters. Yeah, so this really resonates so much, in my mind, in me. I'm like, wow, Dr. Young really always emphasize on this point. We need to absolutely obey the heavenly law, be filial children to our own parents so that our own children can also copy that same example. It's So when I hear this all the time, it's always really touched me. And most of the time, I even try this way to tell my kids, wanted to train them how they can really learn how to obey absolutely, without sometimes even questioning. I tell them, sometimes it's good to obey, do something without questioning. That obedience, it's like you are offering to God. As you are growing, you don't have much to offer to God. But when you are being told to do something or you want to do something, you do it without really, with no frowning. Don't show an attitude of not being happy doing it. So when you do that, it's like you are giving a very clear, pure offering to God. So they're like, oh, wow, Mom, that's how it is. I say, yeah. When you do that way, it's very good. So it's always good to obey. So this topic about obedience, filial, heart attitude, Dr. Young teaches us, I always appreciated it. And I was telling Joshua that, sorry, I did not know about his father. So last time we did interact on Facebook, when the father told me it was his father, I was so shocked and I felt so bad. And I told him he really did a great job to raise such a wonderful son. So thank you, Joshua. Thank you for the incredible work you guys are doing for us in this nation and in the world. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Amin. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you, Dad. Did a good job. Awesome. Thank you for your sharing. Beautiful. Next, I'd like to invite up Renee or Irene. Sal, if you could unmute and also share.
Yeah, hi. It's Irene, so it's Rini, and I chose
Rini.
that name.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
I chose that name because that's the name I used when I joined the church. So I wanted, Mother said, to getting the spirit back from that time when you joined the church. So when I came to Pennsylvania to my new community, I chose Rini, so I could feel that spirit again. And I in our breakout, I really was so grateful for Joshua, because like I told Joshua, he reminds me of my son, and he's so full of joy and so full of love and care for other people. And it's wonderful that he can give joy to people. And that's really a gift. And yeah, I thank his father, And I was telling also about the fact that I feel grateful because filial piety is so important. And I was so grateful to have 8 years of serving my mother before she passed. She lived with us for 8 years. And I think, really loving and sharing together as a 3-generation family, my children learned a lot, and they have become better than me and better than my husband. And that's a joy, because they live, they're doing besides doing things that give back to the community, give back to the world, they do it with a lot of heart and joy, and I'm so grateful. And I know my mom is also looking down on our children also. So I feel filial piety kind of multiplies, right? If it seems to grow and grow with each generation. And I'm sure your parents are so happy to see you and what you've accomplished as the second generation, as their filial son. And they're so grateful for the filial daughter that you've been blessed with. So, yeah. So anyway, thank you. Thank you that our children can become better than us. It's wonderful how God works in such amazing ways. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Rini, Irene. Beautiful sharing. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, I have a few regular reminders and one special one. Of course, invite somebody, use the transcripts, the link to all the images on edu.familyfed.org. Dr. Kylie, thank you so much. And then also joyfully give from your hearts. You can donate, which we're so grateful for, but also if you'd like to reach out to Talzor, she's looking for people to give opening prayer. And also, or if you'd like to even offer a testimony, please let us know. And then also offering musical offerings. So just one special announcement is that the second Conference of Hope will be held this Friday, December 16th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in joining as a two-way participant, please register through the form that Tal has just put in the chat. These Conference of Hopes are specifically dedicated towards the situation going on in Japan, as I understand, and tackling that. So there's a huge team working on it. If you'd like to be part of the two-way, which is a great experience, I join almost every time, supporting my sister Tal, please follow that form in the chat. That's December 16th, 7:30 p.m. Okay, now for our musical offering this morning, please welcome to the floor, to the stage, Hiroko Hiroe. Hiroko-san, if you could unmute and take it away.
Yes, good morning, Young Hejanim and brothers and sisters. Oh my gosh, I feel a little bit nervous now. So today I want to sing a song, worship song in Korea, in Hangul. I prepared this song. I want to give a Christmas present to really Young Hejanim, because I don't have a chance to give him back something. So this is the song. And also this song describes our father's entire life. This is very beautiful and dedicated song. So I want to sing in Hangul. 주님이 홀로 가신 그 길 나도 따라가오 모든 물과 피를 흘리신 그 길은 나도 가오 험한 산도 나는 괜찮소 바다 그지라도 나는 괜찮소 죽어가는 저들을 위해 나를 버리기를 바라오 아버지 나를 보내주오 나는 달려가겠어 목숨도 아끼지 않겠어 나를 보내주오 세상이 나를 미워해도 나는 사랑하겠어. 세상 그 원할 십자가 나도 따라가오. 센섬유 버리면서 가지 나를 사랑한 당신 이 작은 나를 받아주어 나도 사랑하오. 생명을 버리면서 가지 나를 사랑한 당신 이 작은 나를 받아주어 나도 사랑하오. 나도 따라가오.
Wow.
감사합니다. 와우.
Wow. Hiroko-san, that was so beautiful. Wow, thank you so much. And it's a gift to Dr. Yong. I know he's on the West Coast, so he's joining the West Coast devotion. So he will hear it later today. So don't worry. Wow, beautiful. Thank you. For our closing prayer, if I could invite up my brother Tetsuya Nomura, if she could unmute and close us out in prayer.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Please join me in prayer. Our dearest, most beloved Heavenly Parent, our true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind. Today, on this beautiful Wednesday, the 21st day of the 11th month of the 10th year of Chanyeolguk, Heavenly Parent, we greet you with such a humble and a grateful heart. Father, we are blessed to be able to begin this day with truth and with guidance that comes directly from you through our central figure, Dr. Yong. Heavenly Parent, I pray that we can truly take to heart everything that we have received today during this morning so that we can become more bright and filial, blessed children and blessed family members before you and our perfected true parents. Heavenly Parent, I pray that you can continue to provide us with your guidance and protection in our daily lives, not just for our own sake, but so that we can become more shining and brilliant individuals and families who can give your love to those around us and even to ourselves. Heavenly Parent, I pray that as we go through this world, that we can think about today's message as well, how important absolute obedience is in a life of faith, and how we are not just living our life for our own sake, but Heavenly Parent, that we have you to think about, we have others to think about, and that we truly long to become more and more filial and other-centered individuals, Heavenly Parent. And so with such a mindset, I pray that we can become a blessing to the world today and live our lives joyfully, for we know that the joy that we live, the joy that we manifest in our own lives is joy that we can return to you as well. And so with that, I'd like to gratefully and humbly report this prayer in all things. In my name, Chang Nong-gon, son of Jang Young-cheon, the Mayas-couple blessings your family. Aju.
Thank you, Tetsuya. That was a great prayer. Close this out. Thank you. And with that, brothers and sisters, thank you so much. I do want to say thank you. This is my last day as your MC for now. Tomorrow you will receive the wonderful Rebecca Calix. And I just want to appreciate you all for bearing with me and my sore throat throughout this whole 10 days. I apologize. But you guys, everyone here, you're amazing. Dr. Yong, thank you so much. Please travel well to the Bay Area today. God bless you. See you tomorrow morning. Thank you.